This is Vicky from Learning Home Volunteers, and welcome back to our new learning session entitled Plastic Eggs. Did you guys have fun playing with all the egg games? Well, this week our inspiration book is Green Eggs and Ham, and we're offering it both in English and in Spanish on Class Tag. This story is about trying new foods. It's a very silly book, and we hope that you will like it. We're going to get to try a lot of new things in this week, too. We're going to try a toy that I actually grew up playing with called Silly Putty, and we're going to do a little taste testing ourselves and try a brand new art technique to help your little artist up their game. So let's get started. This is activity number 3. Silly Putty is actually one of the top selling children's toys of all time, and it was a regular child's toy specifically from the 1950s to the 1980s, and it's now sold by Crayon. It is a solid liquid and it is not toxic, and your child could eat it with zero ill effects. The only bad part of Silly Putty is that it's sticky and it sticks to your hair, the carpet, fabric, so be careful where kids play with it. My favorite feature is how bouncy it is. It can actually bounce so high. But the reason we're including it, Silly Putty, in our learning this week, besides obviously the fact that it's fun, it's a great tool to improve the strength of the fingers and the hands, which is so important in supporting writing. My daughter's favorite thing to do with Silly Putty was actually to hide things in it and then has me go through the Silly Putty to actually try and find it. We counted the items as we put them in and when retrieving it, and I would suggest maybe using the pasta from your learning kit, or if your child is old enough, coins or buttons, anything that wouldn't be a choking hazard. Our second activity is actually to try to make confetti from the Silly Putty itself. It's really hard to tear off a piece and then stretch it out, and this exercise uses all the major muscles in the hands and the fingers. And then the last activity really is imprinting, and I love imprinting keys or things with texture like a pasta or a spoon or the edge of a butter knife. All of the details show through so nicely, really lovely. And finally, if you can find a flyer from the supermarket, flatten it and then smush the yellow Silly Putty on it, you'll see that it actually picks up the ink from the paper. And once you actually transfer it, you can actually stretch it so it goes kind of winky walky, and then make it go away by simply kneading the Silly Putty again. We hope that you'll enjoy playing with it. I think it's a really lovely, fun thing to actually make go. So let's take a look at activity number 4. This is actually flipping eggs, and in your box you'll find a spatula with a cardboard egg and a recording sheet. This game you want to try and flip the egg in the air and have it land on the table, and then record whether it landed with the yolk down like this one or the yolk up like this one. Which is it most likely to land on? And you can keep track of that by just recording each flip on the recording sheet itself. This is activity number 5, and it goes with our book Green Eggs and Ham. It is called Would You Eat It? I have a picky eater in my house, so I thought it might be fun to try and find more colorful foods to try. So we tried red and green foods, and using the placemat, I offered 3 choices of each color. And like the scientists that we were, we smelled each of the foods, looked at it, touched it, and then listed each food and finally tasted it. And then we actually recorded on the recording sheet by either drawing a picture of what we had tried or with the help of maybe an adult wrote out the word and then checked whether we liked it or we didn't like it. We can't wait to see what you tried and what your family favorites are. This is activity number 6. It is called Tape Resistant Chalk Eggs. And in your box, you're going to find a big egg printed on white paper that you can actually cut out. You'll also need a cup of water, some chalk, and a tape that came in bag numbered 6. I taped my egg down on a piece of cardboard with a little colored tape that you can find in your bag. And then I dipped the chalk in the cup of water and chalked a section of the eggs. I think I loved how the little lines on the egg showed up through the cardboard. Obviously, if you didn't want them on there, you could tape your egg down to the table, but by dipping the chalk in the water made the color seem much deeper and smoother going on, which I thought was really fun. And then the magic came when we took the tape off, and then we had all of those blank lines. It turned out so cool. I had such a really good time. You can also use this technique in a much larger scale. Here we have a little boy who has tape using that tape piece of cardboard and is actually going to paint in the colors and then take the tape off. Or you can have them paint over a set that where they've written their name in tape, and by painting different stripes, when you take the tape off, the letters actually show up in the different stripes, which is really cool. Um, or you can just have tape that is in a line and then print a different color on each one, and you can see that you basically end up with a hole in each color, which is also really neat. Well, this is the end of this week's activities. Next week's we're going to do some science, some art, some mazes, and we hope to see you soon.